Hello and welcome to the second video in a series from the High Streets Task Force that introduces the footfall dashboard and how it can be used to support your high street. This video will explain the estimated footfall data that is included in standard dashboards and how places can add to this data with their own manual counts. My name is Matthew Davis. I'm the communications lead for the task force, and I'll be taking you through this video on footfall count data. If there's anything we haven't covered in this video or in the rest of the series, and you'd like to ask us a question about your dashboard, please contact info@highstreetstaskforce.org. Before we start, as a reminder, there are two types of dashboard available. You'll either be provided with an advanced or a standard dashboard. Advanced dashboards use actual footfall data collected by springboard cameras if you have them in your location, and standard dashboards use estimated footfall data. Now, this video only concerns standard dashboards, so if you have an advanced dashboard, there's no need to watch any further. If you do have a standard dashboard, please continue watching and we'll start by explaining more about the estimated footfall data that you'll find within your dashboard. Estimated footfall is an alternative to engage with the concept of footfall for town centres that don't have automatic counting technology. The prototype for estimating footfall has been created in collaboration with Cardiff University and using springboard data to allow us to take an average across multiple towns in England. So this estimation process reflects pre-COVID footfall levels and not footfall throughout lockdown, which has been unprecedented and much harder to predict. The prototype estimates footfall based on a 3-mile radius catchment population for your location. It is important to understand that estimates are not a substitute for automated counters, as their accuracy is just based on catchment population. It doesn't take into account any other town characteristics. Despite these limitations, estimated footfall data can help town stakeholders see the benefits of counting footfall and to understand footfall as a concept. And it's also possible to build on these estimates by adding your own footfall data observed from the high street to help create a clearer picture of what's happening in your town. So we'll move on now to how you can build on the estimated footfall data that's within your dashboard. And there are 3 ways which you can build on the footfall data within your dashboard as we move forwards from COVID-19 restrictions and on into 2022. The first step, in yellow on the screen, is to track your high street's recovery by manually counting footfall from May until July. This data, collected using targeted weekly footfall counts, can be uploaded into your dashboard and plotted to help understand how footfall is changing. The second step is to increase the accuracy of estimated data already in your dashboard by taking part in our calibration program. This program runs from August until March 2022 and requires you to count data at key times during August and December 2021 and March 2022. These months and specific times are significant in telling us what pattern of footfall exists in your town. So counting during these 3 months at those specified times will provide data to the task force, which will then recalculate your footfall estimates and update your dashboard to reflect these more accurate estimations. We'll provide more information about this second step in our next video. Finally, in step 3, you can decide whether you wish to keep using these more accurate, calibrated footfall estimates, or whether you wish to invest in automated footfall counting for your town centre, converting your standard dashboard into an advanced dashboard. However, in this video, we're going to explore step 1. So now we'll move on to how you can track your recovery. The High Streets Task Force is tracking footfall throughout the COVID-19 recovery in England and its lockdown exit plan. This graph actually shows footfall in the UK as it continues to recover throughout this year. And in a similar way, by using a small amount of your time to manually count footfall on your own high street on a regular basis, you can create a picture of your own local footfall recovery. To do this, we recommend that you count footfall on a weekly basis, gathering data manually to add to your dashboard. We're going to look now at when to count, where to count, and how to count, before moving on to how you can add the data that you collect to your dashboard. Firstly, let's look at when to count. This will likely be dictated by how much time you can spare in your weekly schedule, but we recommend that a minimum of 1 hour per week and no more than 3 hours per week will provide some insight into changing footfall levels. What's important is that you count consistently in the same location or locations and on the same day at the same times. This will ensure that comparing weekly data is fair. If you're unsure on what day and what time to count, you may want to choose a time period that's been found to be significant to footfall levels, such as 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. during the commute hours, during lunch hours, or the early evening. And similarly, if you have a specific attraction in your high street or town that you'd like to understand and track, it may help to coordinate your counting times with this, such as a weekly market, for example. Next, we move on to where you should count. Now, in most cases, you will have already provided a location to the task force in order to establish your dashboard. So you've probably considered already where you might want to count. However, it may be worth thinking about if you're counting at the busiest location near to the one that you provided for your dashboard, or perhaps if you want to count near the site of a specific activity, for example, a market, as I just mentioned. Wherever you've chosen to count footfall, again, it's important that you maintain this location and do not change it to give the most consistent and useful data for comparison. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, how do you count footfall? Well, you may be doing this yourself or asking members of your team to pitch in as part of a rota. But whoever is counting, the task force has published a full guide to manual footfall counting, which you can review at the link below. And it's located on the same page on the task force site as this video. Rest assured, it's a relatively simple process and anyone can do it. So once you've got started and you've gathered some footfall data from your manual counts between 1 and 3 hours a week, we now need to look at how you can upload that and analyze it on your dashboard. The first step is you'll need to log into your dashboard in the usual way as we described in video 1 of this series at dashboard.placemanagement.org. Once you're logged in, you'll see the Track Your Recovery option in the left-hand Analytics menu. This is where your footfall counts are displayed, as you can see here on the screen with some test data I've added to a dashboard. To add this data, you'll need to select Add Your Counts in the left-hand menu, just above the Track Your Recovery option. When you do that, here you'll see a log of each time that you've uploaded footfall data to your dashboard. If you haven't uploaded any data yet, this screen will be blank. And to add footfall, you simply select the orange Upload Your Counts button in the top right of the screen. You'll now be presented with a small number of data entry boxes to add your location, the date of the count, and the actual footfall count recorded for each relevant hour on the date that you've collected on the right-hand side of the screen. So first, select the location you've counted at in the camera/location box at the top left. And if you only have one location set up in your dashboard, there'll only be one option here. Next, use the date picker to select the relevant day that you wish to upload a footfall count for. And when you've selected the date, click Done. Then you can add the total footfall count for each relevant hour on that date by using the entry boxes on the right-hand side of the screen. Finally, when you've done that, click the Submit Counts button in the top right of the screen. Once you've done this, you'll return to the Count Log screen that you saw before, and the new data entered will appear here with the status of waiting next to it. The dashboard updates around every 2 hours and will later show the status as converted to finished, which means that the data has been uploaded and will be viewable on your Track Your Recovery screen. So when you have some footfall counts uploaded to the dashboard, select Track Your Recovery to view these counts. On this screen, you can see the weekly total footfall that you've counted, represented by the green line, plotted on top of your estimated total weekly footfall, represented by the orange bars. You can read the green manual count line graph using the axis on the right-hand side labelled Manual Counts. Although the volume of footfall you count manually each week is obviously much lower than the total estimated footfall for that whole week, it's useful here to compare the patterns of the two graphs. The shape of the orange bar chart is a national average for pre-COVID footfall levels, and you'll likely see that the shape of your green manual count line is significantly different depending on the type of town that you're counting within. What we hope is that you'll see a gradually climbing green graph as footfall recovers over the coming weeks and months, and this will help you to make sense of activity on your high street. So there we've just covered quite quickly what the estimated data in your dashboard means, how it was created, and how you can add to this to give a clearer picture of what's happening on your high street using manual count data. So what's next? As we showed earlier, we hope that you'll want to continue on your footfall journey across the 3 stages shown on the screen. So firstly, to start by doing some of the targeted weekly manual counting that we just outlined, and then later by being part of the calibration program, which we'll share more details on soon in the next tutorial video. We'd like to thank you for your efforts in engaging with footfall and counting on your high street, as it provides a valuable source of intelligence for the task force as well as for your own local efforts. So that brings this video to a close, but join us in video 3 of the series when we'll be looking in more detail at the calibration program that I mentioned earlier that will take place later in the year beginning in August. Remember, there is already a guide produced by the task force on how to conduct a manual footfall count, and that's available on the dashboard page on the task force website. You can see a link to it on the screen here. So hopefully, having viewed this video, there's nothing stopping you now from getting started with tracking your recovery and adding some of that manual count data to your dashboard. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again in the next video in the series.